Hey everybody, it's David. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to do something new, not original, but I've seen a lot of YouTubers that have done tiered rankings, and I thought it would be fun to do a tiered ranking on one of my favorite topics, which is remakes. So I've chosen 30 films that are remakes, horror films that are remakes, and I thought it would be fun to give my opinion on how they rank. Are they better than the original, as good as the original, worthy efforts, or are the last category, how dare you? How dare you tarnish my franchise? So let's take a look at these. Let me share my screen here. And let's start with the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. I did not care much for this movie at all. I thought the acting was poor. The script was poorly written. I didn't care much for the makeup effects they did on, I can't remember, the Jackie Earl Haley. I appreciate, they tried to make him look more like a burn victim, more so than Robert Englund did in the original. But overall, this was just poorly executed. So I'm going to say this one belongs in the how dare you category. Next, we have one, not necessarily horror. The original one was horror, and that is The Mummy from 1999, starring Brendan Fraser. This was a remake of the original from 1932. I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was one of the stronger ones in the Mummy series that followed this movie. Would I say it was as good as the original? Yes. Was it better than the original? I'm going to say it was better than the original. Just simply because with the special effects that were available in 1999, it just added a lot to the movie. Next up, we have The Evil Dead. The Evil Dead. Let me give you a little bit of history on my feelings toward The Evil Dead. I was never really a fan of the original series from Sam Raimi. I thought they were campy and schlocky. I've since gone back and rewatched them and have a better appreciation for them. But I gotta say, The Evil Dead from Fede Alvarez, awesome movie. I love the gore in this movie. I like the story that was incorporated into this version of Evil Dead. This is one that I watched with my wife, and it scared the hell out of her, so that made it even all the better for me. So this one, I feel, is far better than the original. All right, next up we have The Wolfman, starring Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins. I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I saw it on my 35th birthday in theaters. Would I say it's better than the Lon Chaney version? No, it's basically the same story. So I'm going to say it's as good as the original, but not better than the original, despite having better special effects. All right, that brings us to Dawn of the Dead. This is another one of those set of movies, of the Dead movies, that I don't have a very good history with. I appreciate what George Romero did for horror, especially the zombie genre, but I've never really been a big fan of those movies. But I did really like the Dawn of the Dead version that Zack Snyder did. So I'm going to say this one is definitely better than the original. All right, Poltergeist. This one was an atrocity, in my opinion. I feel like it didn't bring anything new to the table. The acting wasn't all that great. It felt like a cash grab. So I'm going to say this one is How Dare You. All right, next up, Amyville Horror. I'm a big fan of the original, but I thought that the remake starring Ryan Reynolds was a good remake as well. I liked the special effects that were in this one. My favorite scene is the one where the babysitter is in the closet and you get to see the little girl and she drags your finger into the bullet hole into her head. Would I say it was better than the original? No, but it is definitely as good as the original, in my opinion. Next up, we have House of Wax, starring Paris Hilton. This was a remake of the Vincent Price movie of the same title. I liked the Vincent Price movie from way back, I want to say the 50s maybe. But I did feel like the House of Wax was just slightly better than the original. So therefore, I'm going to put it here. Next up, we have Black Christmas from 2006. I enjoyed this one much more so than the one we got in, was it 2018, 2019? That one was an atrocity, but I feel like the one we got in 2006 was as good as the original, but I wouldn't say it was better than the original. The Omen, starring Liev Schreiber and Julia Stiles. I really like the original a lot. This one was a valiant effort. However, I wouldn't say it was as good as the original, so I'm going to put it in the nice try category. I enjoyed the special effects. The kills were effective in the movie, but I just feel like it was almost a shot-for-shot remake of the original, and I still think the original holds up to this day, so it's slightly better than the remake we got from Liev Schreiber and Julia Stiles. Okay, next we have Child's Play. I didn't like this movie. I can appreciate what they were trying to do with bringing Chucky into the modern age and having AI, but I didn't like the look of Chucky in this movie. I wasn't impressed with Mark Hamill's voiceover stuff as Chucky. I'm going to say this one was a nice try, but definitely not as good as the original. Brad Dourif is just hard to beat as Chucky. Okay, next we have Maniac with Elijah Wood. I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I liked the direction they took with this one. Would I say it's better than the original? No, but it's definitely as good as the original. Next up, we have The Invisible Man, another remake of a classic. I enjoyed this movie. It was a little bit of a slow burn, which I'm not always a fan of, but I thought it was well executed. The story is definitely different from the original movie, but I'm going to say that this one was better than the original, in my opinion. And again, folks, this is just my opinion. If you feel strongly about anything that I'm ranking, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But again, I'm not trying to offend anyone and saying this is the law. This is just my opinion, and I respect your opinions as well. And if you want to share them with me in the comments, I'd love to read them. All right. So next we have I Spit on Your Grave. This one was a tough watch, as was the original. Anything that has rape scenes is not easy for anyone to watch, and both of these movies kind of have extended rape scenes. I like the story of this one. It's very similar to the original. It's revenge, and I don't want to say it's better than the original, but I would definitely say it is as good as the original. So, all right. Next up, we have the 2017 remake of It. I really liked both these movies quite a bit, but I'm also a big fan of the original TV miniseries from 1990 with Tim Curry and John Ritter. Uh, I do feel like this is one of those movies, though, that really benefited from today's special effects. I thought that Bill Skarsgård did a fantastic job as Pennywise. I enjoyed the casting of both the kids and the adults. So I'm going to say that It is better than the original. The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. This one is hands down better than the original. I appreciate what the original with Vincent Price brought to the table, but this one just had so much more to offer. Cronenberg did a great job with this one. He's a master when it comes to body horror, and this one just blew me away as a child, and it holds up well even today. Next, we have My Bloody Valentine 3D. This is one that I saw recently within the last couple years, as well as the original. I'm not a fan of the original, but I did really enjoy the 3D version that we got. I want to say it was the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, I much preferred this version over the original, so this one is better than the original. Friday the 13th. This one might ruffle some feathers. I like the Friday the 13th series, but I like my series to have Jason. And so I've never been a huge fan of the original Friday the 13th, which was centered around Pamela Voorhees. So I was glad to see that this version kind of skirted past the whole Pamela Voorhees story within the first 5 minutes of the film. And I thought Derek Mears was a fantastic Jason. It was cool for me getting to see how he gets to move around Crystal Lake so quickly with the underground tunnels and stuff. I like the way he moved. I liked his brutality. So this one for me is much better than the original. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Another one that's probably going to make some folks a little upset. I like the original. I appreciate what Toby Hooper did with it and what this did for the horror genre. But I really liked the performance from Arlie Ermy and Jessica Biel and the rest of the cast in the remake. It was a great movie. I liked this one and the prequel. So I'm going to say this one was definitely better than the original. All right, next up we have Pet Sematary. This one I know upset some Stephen King fans and even some casual King fans, especially with the twist. I know there were a lot of people that were upset that the trailer kind of ruined it before they got to see it in theaters. I like the twist. I didn't care that it was a little bit different than the original. I'm not going to say what that was, but I enjoyed this movie. I wouldn't say it's better than the original, but I felt like it was definitely as good as the original, in my opinion. Next up, we have Carrie, starring Chloe Grace Moretz. This one came out, I want to say, in 2012. I really enjoyed this remake. Would I say it was better than the version with Sissy Spacek? No. I enjoyed the special effects that were in this movie, but this one just did not exceed the original. Is it as good as the original? This is tough. I want to say it was as good as the original, but it didn't quite live up to the original in some regards. So I'm going to say this one was a nice try. Next up, we have Psycho, starring Vince Vaughn. This one was horrible. I don't know why they even had to remake this. I feel like you can't touch Hitchcock's original version, and I just did not like this movie at all. So this one I'm going to definitely say is a how dare you. Next up, we have Let Me In. I have seen both versions of this film. The original, I want to say, was in Swedish or German. It was in a foreign language and subtitled. Again, this one stars Chloe Grace Moretz. I enjoyed this one. Would I say it was better than the original? No, but I feel like it was just as good as the original. Next up, we have Flatliners. Flatliners from 1990 is one of my favorite movies. Kiefer Sutherland and Julia Roberts and the rest of the cast did a fantastic job with that movie. This one, not so much. Even with the cameo from Kiefer, this movie just was all over the place. I felt like the script wasn't very well written. I just could not get into this one. I own it, but I can honestly say I've only watched it once, and once was enough for me. So this one's going to go into the how dare you category. All right, Halloween from Rob Zombie. I like this one. I didn't care much for Halloween 2. This one I felt like gave us a little more of a backstory of young Michael in his early days at Smith's Grove. I don't feel like we benefited from that. It didn't really change anything with the overall storyline. For that reason alone, I'm not going to say it was better than the original, but this was one that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the brutality that we got to see from Tyler Bates Tyler Mane as Michael Myers. So I'm going to say this one was as good as the original, but definitely not better than the original. Dracula, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. This one starred Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, and Gary Oldman. This is one of my favorite films as well. As much as Bela Lugosi kind of embodied Dracula, and he's been kind of the template for Dracula, I thought that Gary Oldman did a fantastic job playing both the old Dracula and the young Dracula. Yes, there were some problems with maybe the accent that Keanu Reeves used, but I still want to say this one was better than the original. So that's where we'll go. Castle Freak. This was a 2019 remake of the original. I liked the direction they took with this one. Would I say it was better than the original with Jeffrey Combs? No. So this one was as good as the original, in my opinion. Next up, we have Last House on the Left. I have only seen the original one once. This story was very similar. They did make some minor changes to it, but overall, it didn't really change the storyline too much. Would I say this one was better than the original? Probably not, but I feel like it was as good as the original, in my opinion. So that's where it will fall in this tier. And that brings us to Fright Night. This is one that I watched with my wife. One of her favorite movies of all time is Fright Night from 1987 or 85. I in her about that time. She's a huge fan of Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge. She wasn't impressed with Colin Farrell as Jerry Dandridge. I know she was excited to see this when it was announced. But when we saw it in theaters, we both kind of left feeling disappointed. She didn't hate the movie, but she said it was nowhere near as good as the original, and I have to agree with her. So this one is going to fall in the nice try. And that brings us to the last one on my list of 30 remakes, and that is going to be Wrong Turn. This one that came out last year in 2021. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought the storyline was great. There was less of the inbred stuff going on. So this one just kind of kept me captivated the entire movie. Whereas, some of the scenes from the original one didn't really impress me all that much. So this one, in my opinion, is much better than the original. So there you go, folks. That is my ranking of the 30 remakes. Again, I'd love to hear what your opinions are, so let me know down below in the comments. And that's going to do it for this video. Hope you all are doing well, and until next time, take care. Thanks.